It's September of 2012, and just recently the information came out, was reported in the New York Times and other places, that scientists have recognized that what we formerly thought was junk DNA actually plays a vital role in determining what happens with cells. The New York Times reported that as scientists dig deeper into the junk, described as parts of the DNA that are not actual genes that contain instructions for proteins, they found a complex system that controls genes in which at least 80% of the DNA is both active and needed. They went on to say that the discovery, considered a major breakthrough, has enormous implications for human health because many complex diseases appear to be caused by tiny charges in hundreds of gene switches. So it's like these little switches are going on and off, and they're determining why. In their report, they said, hey, you could have a set of twins, that same DNA and whatever, one of them ends up getting a disease and the other one doesn't. So why is this so important to theism? Why is this so exciting to us who want to believe in a God, and why does it point to a God? Well, in the past, evolutionists, naturalists have said, look, of course there's junk DNA. Of course we would expect that most of the DNA doesn't even serve a purpose because we got here by random chance. We just evolved. And according to random chance, you would expect that there'd be some good things that would happen and a lot of bad things. And so we'd see inefficiency, and we would see what we see. We see junk DNA. Sorry, you guys, that just points to the fact that there is no God. We got here as a result of random mutations, and that's it. Well, we as theistic I'm not a scientist, but we in the camp with the theistic scientists who are hoping that we're going to prove, or at least suggest that there is a God, we're saying, no, wait a minute. Someday we're going to find, like most everything we see else in the human body and in the universe, we're going to find that this junk DNA really does serve a purpose. And here it is, in 2012, we recognize it. 80% of junk DNA absolutely has a purpose. We talk about this complexity going on at a really low level, a fine level in there, and once again, precision, design, complexity, meaning, all of these things. So this is an incredible blow to naturalism again. It speaks to the fact that this body of ours is incredibly efficient in the systems we have and what's happening at the smallest levels. And so naturalism versus theism, theism continues to do well. In fact, I would suggest, if anybody's interested, I used to give this book away whenever I taught a class. It's a book called More Than a Theory. It was put out by Reasons to Believe in 2009. They welcomed anybody in the world to come put their own theory up as to how advanced life got here and what we're going to find in the future. And then hold up those two theories over the course of time and see which one seems to bear out the most insight as far as what we're about to discover. So it's one of the reasons why I've loved this group of scientists for over the last 20 years, is because I watched them predict what we'd find on Mars with regards to life. I watched them predict other things. And once again, it's like, junk DNA, not junk. So it's almost like watching a sporting event. It's like theism versus naturalism. Theism took the lead in the 16th and 17th century with the scientific revolution, where, by the way, most of our scientists had this belief that there was a God out there, and he would allow us to find meaning, and we would see organization, we would see complexity and fine-tuning and precision, because what led them in their search was this belief of a higher being, and it's why we discovered so many things. And I think if we get back to that type of science, and there are people out there that are doing that, we'll have a little bit more wisdom as to what we find. We believe, a lot of scientists that I listen to believe that the more we find about the subatomic particles, the Higgs boson, and the other things we find about what's happening in those really tiny, minutest levels of life and the implications in the universe, one thing we're going to find is more precision, more control, more design, more complexity, more that speaks to, hey, even the levels of uncertainty we're probably going to find are very refined or very contained, that they wouldn't speak to randomness, that again, they're going to speak to precision and construction of a being that is far more intelligent than we are, someone from outside our space-time dimension. So again, it is a whole lot like watching a football game. 16th, 17th century, theism took the lead. Through a couple touchdown passes, we're up 21-0. Then Darwin came along, and naturalism, the Scopes monkey trial. Naturalism took the lead, and I think a lot of people shut off their television sets, and they thought, done deal. Naturalism, that's how we got here. Hey, we can all pretend that there's a God, and we can all say whatever, and God bless you, and I'll see you in heaven, and somebody dies, and they must need another singer, another guitar player, another football player in heaven, whatever. But now we turn the television set back on in 2012, and we say, holy moly, the score is now theism 150 and naturalism 31. And the exciting part about living in this time period that we're living in right now as we just discover more about dark energy, dark matter, subatomic particles, and now junk DNA isn't junk DNA. If we're keen and if we're realizing the implication of what science continues to discover year after year, we're going to realize that, again, the evidence is mounting up into stacks, mountains of evidence that speak to the fact that someone who really loves us, who's really patient, and who's really loving, loves us enough that we are it. This is the only planet in this universe with advanced life, unless that same being decided, for reasons of his own, to create life somewhere else. We're so special, we're so important, and there is a God out there, and he's loving. And this is exciting, and that's what science tells us. So it's time for us to be brave, for some of us to break away from some of the mindsets that we've had in the past, and for us to realize that, that there is a God out there, and that the evidence just keeps piling up in favor of the precision and love that this guy displays, that this God displays.